Explain to Americans.
The birth of Christianity came from Jewish teachers. First of all, look at Christ himself. I mean, he was a Jewish teacher from the Galilee. He wasn't a Palestinian teacher. He was a Jewish teacher with a Jewish name, Yeshua.
I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahushai Bahasham Maha Rakah Kodash. Double honors unto our apostle elders, which rule great millstone well, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, wa abba babal. All right, so this shows that the land, the promised land, is being occupied by counterfeits. All right, this man just said that who they called Jesus was not a preacher from Palestine, but the land of Palestine, when you look at the ancient maps, is the land of Judah. And Yahushai, who they called Jesus Christ, he was of the tribe of Judah. So this shows you that they err in not knowing the scriptures.
His father was Joseph. These are all Hebrew names. It was the birth of Christianity came from Jewish teachers who moved to Christianity, but they were Jews and they came from Jewish traditions that were here for over 1,000 years.
Which, when Yahushua converted Apostle Paul, which was a Pharisee of our people, of the nation of Israel, he sent Apostle Paul, made him an apostle, sent him out to turn Israel back into the way of being an Israelite, out of the darkness of the heathen, which, being a Christian, came from the Greeks. The name Christian is Greek. All right. And they put that term on the Israelites that believed on Yahushua, but it came from the Greeks. All right. But the ones that are faithful, the Israelites.
And where did Jesus turn the tables on the money changers? Where? In Nepal? Perhaps in Singapore? Of course not. It was in the Jewish temple, in the same place where Solomon, 1,000 years earlier, had built the first Jewish temple, and then the exiles who returned from Babylon. You know the song, By the Rivers of Babylon? It's a very popular song, where we sat down, and we remembered Zion. Well, they came back from Babylon, actually under a benign Persian king, King Cyrus. And so they came back 500 years before the birth of Christ and rebuilt Jerusalem. And we had.
And what did they read in that land when they rebuilt Jerusalem? The scriptures, not the Talmud.
And built the second temple, which was refurbished by King Herod. This all happened here in the land.
Refurbished, but what it was they were occupying that land. The Edomite Greeks, which you have King Herod, and also then the Romans, which you had Caesar, all right, which Titus, all right, he destroyed the temple in the city in 70 AD, and this is why Judah, the real Judah, the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, they fled into Africa, which they were picked up in slave ships on West Africa and brought to America to serve slavery. Now, some of them went to Europe, and this is where they had the Crusades, which were Israelites that were trying to fight to take the land back, because you had the Ishmaelites and the Edomites in that land, all right, fighting over it. And eventually you see that those Arabs and Esau are in there, and Esau is ruling, all right, through America and the beast, which is the European Union, which is teeth are NATO. All right. And they have all these other nations confederate under that banner of so-called white supremacy under the UN, which serves the purpose of Esau. All right. Now they have enemies, which are the BRIC nations, and the BRIC nations are going to convert the allies of America, which they're going to be drawn into this war through the small hats, the counterfeits that are in that land. All these wars that they're stirring up, it's going to draw America into the world war, and it's going to lose by nuclear destruction.
Of Israel, populated by the people of Israel, the people of the Bible. So when the Arab
which you could look it up, Israeli in Google or dictionary, it says that they are not the people of the ancestry of the Bible. They are a modern term people. All right. They were recently put in that land under the Balfour Act. All right. America and British Edomites working with the Rothschilds' money.
Propaganda that permeates now the discourse in your campuses, and these illiterate people who are talking about the ancient Palestinian homeland. They have no idea what they're talking about. In fact, there weren't any Arabs here until after 2,000 years of the Jewish experience in this land, the land of Israel. And people said, yeah, but they really populated it after the Jews left. And the answer is they didn't.
But then why did the Egyptian president say the Jews left black and came back white, and this is why you had a 6-day war?
And you know who gives the best evidence to that? How about Mark Twain?
See, this man is an Edomite. He went to Mark Twain. I'll pull up what Mark Twain taught after this video, because if I leave, it will change it.
Remember Mark Twain, right? A noted Israeli propagandist, right? I'm kidding.
Well, he traveled
came here
through,
in the 19th
yes.
century, he wrote the most, it's called Innocents Abroad, The Innocents Abroad.
And see, he said a propagandist, all right, which that's a term you should look up.
Abroad. It was the most popular book that he published during his lifetime. It was more popular than Tom Sawyer or Huckleberry Finn. It just sold and sold and sold. And it described his visit to the Holy Land, among other things. And he said, we traveled into Galilee, and we didn't see a human being for the entire day. One human being was just barren. And then he came to Jerusalem, and he said, Jerusalem sits in sackcloth and ashes. And he basically said what other travelers, Brits, Americans.
And it's because the Israelites are exiled into slavery. We've been scattered amongst the heathen, and we are here in the uttermost part of the earth under Edom in slavery in Babylon the Great.
Americans, French came here in the 19th century, and they said, basically, when will the Jews come back and bring this land back to life? And we did. And the Palestinians, as I said, joined us from neighboring lands. And we never said, you have to go out. We have to kick you out. We didn't say that. We welcomed them. The birth of Christianity.
So where is the tribe of Dan? Because in the prophecies it says that you would have the tribe of Dan in the land. They would have a gate into the city of Jerusalem, and this city would be built on precious stones, which you do not have. You do not fit the prophecies of the people. All right, and I'm going to just pull out a point with the scripture. Hold, I'm doing sit down. Hold on. All right, just to show. All right, the tribe of Judah, they had that land where Gaza and Palestine are. That would be the land. All right, so it shows you that the land of Judah, which Yahweh Shai was of the tribe of Judah. All right, and this man, not a Jew, said that who the world ignorantly called Jesus Christ was a preacher of Jerusalem and not of Palestine. Or he said Galilee, right? which this shows you that he didn't know the scriptures. All right, that land, which they call the Palestinian coast, is part of the land of Judah. All right, and Yahweh Shai, all right, when he returns, and just like he was in the past, he was described as a so-called black man. Judah are the so-called American Negroes. All right, and this proves that they're the wicked. They're not the Israelites, as the Bible promises. We will go back into that land, which they know it. All right, Sir Isaac Newton. All right, he broke down the scriptures to a scientific form, so these devils could try to figure out when their end would be and when we would go back into the land, so they could set up these counterfeits. All right, they're moving in the spirit of witchcraft. All right, now it says Daniel 12, and the witchcraft that they're doing is rebellion, because they're supposed to serve us, but they're trying to keep us as a perpetual slave, which is going to fail for them. But it tells you in Daniel 12, verse 9, and he said, "Go thy way, Daniel," which the Sir Isaac Newton, which he was his main book that they said he focused on for end time prophecies was Daniel and Revelation. It says, and he said, "Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end," which we understand at this time because these prophecies are speaking. That's why you got the actor who plays Hector talking about the implantable microchip, the mark of the beast. And I've seen it on multiple movies. I've seen it, certain people talking about it. And it's coming out where they're starting to talk about it straight up, because look at the position of Elon Musk. It says, "Many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand." And so this shows that he's the wicked and he can't understand the scriptures. All right, but the wise shall understand, which is starting with the elect of Israel. All right, and when he went in there and he was trying to break down the scriptures, he was failing, because they go off the Talmud. They don't go off the scriptures. And that's why the Lord said in Psalm 50 and verse 16, it says, "But unto the wicked Edomite our power saith, What hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth?" Because they claim to be a Jew. Seeing thou hateth instruction and casteth my words behind thee." Right? They're not dealing with the scriptures. He said Mark Twain. So this is the man that he said that was prophesying of America. I'm sorry, not America, but Esau going into that land, which it went into that land by the British and the Americans on the money of the Rothschilds, which are the small hats today. All right. But he this man produced lies, right? It says American writer and humorist. Let's define that. It says a humorist, writer, performer, or artist. And he said propagandist, definition of propagandist: a person who promotes or publicizes a particular organization or cause, consisting spreading propaganda. Propaganda, it says information, especially of a biased and or misleading nature, used to promote a particular cause, doctrine, or point of view. a dissemination of propaganda as a political strategy, a committee of cardinals of the Roman Catholic Church. All right. So that shows you who also is involved in this false religion. All right. It says, verse 7, seeing thou hateth instruction and casteth my words, the holy scriptures, behind thee, when thou sawest a thief, then thou consenteth with him, and has been partaker with adulterers. Let's see. They break the commandments. They don't uphold the commandments in that land. All right. Adulterers. It says to commit adultery. Commit adultery. Always with wife of another. That's what adultery is. But it also includes idolatrous worship, which is spiritual adultery. All right. So that's what they do. They promote wickedness using America, but the small hats are the ones that control it. It says, thou giveth thy mouth to evil, and thy tongue frameth deceit. Thou sittest and speaketh against thy brother Jacob, which are the Israelites today. Thou slanderest thine own mother's son. Through persecution of the Israelites, the Edomites slandereth their own brother Jacob, which Esau and Jacob were twins. But it was prophesied by their birth and even before that Esau would serve the older would serve the younger. All right, Esau would become the slave of Jacob, and this is what he's trying to stop. All right, and this is why he hates Jacob with an enmity. All right, Esau has a perpetual hatred for Jacob because of the blessing that our father Isaac gave to our forefather Jacob, that Esau would be our slave. All right, and that's what he's trying to alter. It says in Revelation 13 and verse 9, if any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. And I heard another beast, which is America, coming out of the earth, and he said, and he had two horns like a lamb, which is the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Like a lamb, and they portray it as something beneficial to the people. And he spake as a dragon, which they're coming down with great wrath, knowing that they have but a short time, and they're signing executive orders, removing the constitutional rights. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast, which is operating in the spirit of ancient pagan Rome, before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, that pagan Roman Empire. That's why they pushed anti-fascists. All right, their symbol is a fascist. Look it up. It's in the Senate House. All right, so they're openly saying, if you don't worship the system that they apply, all right, you're going to be put to death. All right, that's where it's coming to. Whose deadly wound was healed, which this is the reincarnation of Rome. And he doth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. They got the missile technology. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, which is the European Union, and they have the military might, NATO, saying to them that, hey, Raphael, chill out, hold on. It says, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live, which they're reincarnating the Roman Empire again, but it's going to fail this time, and they're going to end up in slavery under the Israelite. It says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, which that's what they're doing right now. This is why they're removing your First Amendment. It says, in fact, I could pull that up real quick. All right, I got the video saved on the TikTok, and I also promoted it on my post page. All right.
1 year penalty for inciting riots. We took the freedom of speech away because that's been through the courts, and the court said you have freedom of speech. But what has happened is when they burn a flag, it agitates and irritates crowds. They've never seen anything like it on both sides, and you end up with riots. So we're going on that basis. We're looking at it from not.
And see, what it is they understand that it speaks of these riots taking place, which is in sedition against them that rule. All right. And it's prophesied that they're pretty much going to have their way with these officials that are supposed to be taking care of the people. Remember, the two horns like a lamb, right? But speaks as a dragon, and these people are going to rebel against their leadership. It says in 2nd Ezra 15:10, behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. So they're coming down with great wrath against us, the Israelites. And so they're going to be destroyed, just as Pharaoh and his army pursued us. And we're going to be delivered and took back in that land. It says, I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues. So Yahweh is going to send his son Yahweh Shai with the host of heaven, and he's going to plague this place all the way up to nuclear destruction. And the spiritual Egypt is America. Look at the capital. They got the obelisk on the back of the dollar. They got the pyramid. And their president is inaugurated, which goes back to Egypt. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues, the final plague being the nuclear destruction, and will destroy all the land thereof. It says, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. Showing that it's not talking about ancient Egypt, it's talking about a modern spiritual Egypt, and he's going to plague this place as he did to the land in the past. It says in verse 15, for the sword, which is that so-called white race, they're a weapon of mass destruction, and their destruction draweth nigh, so their end is near, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands, and they're stirring it up through their economics, through their causing of famines, through their devaluing the dollar, through their executive orders. All right, they're causing people to be roused up. They're trying to rouse you up. It says in the scriptures, who shall rouse Judah up, which are the so-called American Negroes. It says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another, just like you see in Chicago. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So they're going to fight against their leadership. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, because you'll have martial law, because you have civil war, class war, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So this is going to happen. At the same time, he's going to stir up those Carmanians, which are the Iranians, Elam, all right? And they're going to go after the small hats, all right? It says, Yeah, right here. Verse 30, also the Carmanians, which are the Iranians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come, and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians, which they're going to shoot missiles on Babylon the Great, aka the United States of America. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature, and if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them, then these shall be bled, and keep silence through their power, and shall flee. And from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them, and consume some of them, and in their hosts shall be fear and dread and strife among their kings. All right, because it's going to be a nuclear war, and these people fought before, all right, but it's prophetic, all right, of what's happening now with the Edomites, and it was historic what it happened to the actual Assyrians and these Midianites. All right, it says, in fact, let me grab that because it tells you he's gonna rise up these Midianites, which are the Russians, and the Iranians are gonna rouse up too. All right, to fight America, which it's Isaiah 13 and verse. I'll just get to the point. It says, "Behold, I will stir up the Medes," which the Medes are the Russians today, "against them, which shall not regard silver. As for gold, they shall not delight in it." And America's going digital and pretty much abandoning their debt. All right, they're going to turn the debt into a asset, which is going to screw everybody else. And it's going to anger these nations. At the same time, you have these small hat bastards causing all kinds of wars. All right, so it's going to draw them into a war, all right, through the Iranians. And Russians are going to get pulled in, the Chinese, all right, and these other nations, including the NATO nations, they're going to ally up with the BRIC nations, including the UN nations, and they're going to shoot missiles on the United States, all right? That's the prophecy. It says, "Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of their womb, Their eye shall not spare children, and Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of Chaldees," which this place was built up on witchcraft, "excellency shall be as when our power overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, which nothing will remain. It will be a desert of brimstone and pools of water when it cools down, and only desert creatures will live here." All right, it tells you that the allies of these Edomites are turning on them. It says in Obadiah, verse 7, "All the men of thy confederacy, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him, which the wicked shall not understand. Shall I not in that day, saith Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau?" Yes, that's why you got women ruling high levels, controlling major power in your government. All right, you're lacking wisdom. All right, it shows it. It shows it's a circus now. It says, "Shall I not in that day, saith Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau? And really, we're literally living in an idiocracy. And thy mighty men, O T-men, shall be dismayed to the end, that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Verse 15, for the day of Yahweh is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. It says, verse 17, but upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them, which we are in captivity in the nation of Edom, right? As slaves, they have us here in Babylon the Great, and this truth is burning them up, but eventually it's going to lead to their destruction. When Yahweh Shai returns, he's going to put it in the hearts of these heathen to shoot missiles on Babylon the Great, the whore of Edom, which is her flesh is going to be consumed in a lake of fire. It says, and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yahweh has spoken it, which eventually is going to lead to your extinction after your 1,000 years of slavery under the Israelites. Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. Wa abba babal.